Growing up, my life was a constant struggle to be seen. My sister Mary was the golden child. She was everything I was not. Beautiful, intelligent, and seemingly perfect in the eyes of our parents. They doted on her, praised her every achievement, and showered her with attention. I, on the other hand, felt invisible, always standing in her shadow. From an early age, Mary knew how to manipulate situations to her advantage. She would use her charm and intelligence to get what she wanted, often at my expense. I remember one incident when I was about 8 years old. I had spent weeks working on a school project, hoping to impress our parents. The night before it was due, Mary sabotaged it, claiming it was an accident. I knew better, but our parents sided with her, as they always did. I was left to pick up the pieces and redo the project overnight. Mary's favoritism extended beyond school. She was the star of every family gathering, the one everyone wanted to be around. During holidays, while I struggled to gain our parents' attention, Mary basked in their adoration. They would boast about her beauty and intelligence to our relatives, while my achievements, though fewer, went unnoticed. It was as if I did not exist in their eyes, unless it was to highlight Mary's superiority. As we grew older, the rift between us widened. Mary became more brazen in her manipulation, using her perceived superiority to belittle and intimidate me. She would make snide remarks about my appearance, my grades, anything she could think of to undermine my confidence. Our parents, blinded by their affection for her, never saw the cruelty behind her actions. They would dismiss my complaints, telling me to be more like Mary if I wanted their approval. One particular memory stands out vividly. It was my 16th birthday, and I had planned a small celebration with a few close friends. Mary, however, decided to throw a lavish party the same day, overshadowing my plans. Our parents encouraged it, praising her for being so social and popular. My friends ended up leaving early to attend Mary's party, and I spent the rest of the evening alone in my room, feeling more isolated than ever. These experiences shaped my childhood, fostering a deep sense of insecurity and longing for validation. I yearned for the day when I could escape Mary's shadow and make a life of my own, free from her constant manipulation and our parents' biased favoritism. Little did I know, the path to finding my own identity would be fraught with challenges, many of which would stem from the very person who made my early years so difficult. As we moved into our teenage years, Mary's life seemed to be an endless string of accomplishments and admirers. She excelled in high school, was crowned prom queen, and had a line of suitors vying for her attention. Our parents couldn't have been prouder. I, on the other hand, focused on my studies, determined to earn their approval through hard work and dedication. But no matter how well I did, it was never enough to outshine Mary. After high school, Mary decided to attend a prestigious university, one that our parents boasted about to anyone who would listen. She seemed destined for greatness, but that image began to crack when she met Jeremy. Jeremy was wealthy, charismatic, and completely smitten with Mary. It wasn't long before she abandoned her studies to be with him. She saw him as a ticket to a life of luxury and excitement, far more appealing than the grind of academic life. Mary and Jeremy's relationship moved quickly. They were married within a year, and Mary seemed to revel in her new life as a wealthy socialite. She hosted extravagant parties, traveled to exotic locations, and flaunted her glamorous lifestyle. But beneath the surface, cracks were beginning to show. Jeremy was looking for a partner who could share his dreams of building a family and a future, while Mary was more interested in the superficial aspects of their relationship. Their marriage lasted 3 tumultuous years. The arguments grew more frequent, and Jeremy's patience wore thin. He wanted stability, a partner who could grow with him, but Mary was unwilling to change. Her manipulative nature and unwillingness to compromise led to their eventual split. The divorce was messy, with accusations and blame thrown in every direction. In the end, Mary returned to our parents' home, a shadow of her former self. When Mary came back home, she brought with her a sense of defeat and bitterness. She had no degree, no career prospects, and little to show for her years of indulgence. Our parents welcomed her back with open arms, sympathizing with her plight, and once again placing her needs above all else. It was as if they couldn't see the pattern repeating itself, Mary manipulating them with her charm and playing the victim. Back in the family home, Mary fell into a pattern of aimlessness. She spent her days attending parties, engaging in fleeting romances, and generally avoiding any responsibility. Despite her circumstances, she still carried an air of superiority, looking down on those around her. She would often criticize me for my choices, belittling my achievements and reminding me of her former glory. It was during this time that I began to truly distance myself from Mary. I was determined not to let her toxicity drag me down. I focused on my studies, landed a job that I loved, and started to build a life of my own. But no matter how far I progressed, Mary always found a way to try and pull me back into her web of manipulation and control. The tension in our household grew with each passing day. Our parents, still blinded by their favoritism, continued to coddle Mary, excusing her behavior and placing the blame on external circumstances. It was a difficult environment to thrive in, but I knew that if I was going to find happiness and success, I had to stay focused and not let Mary's descent into chaos consume me as well. Leaving the toxic environment of my parents' home was like shedding an old oppressive skin. College was my sanctuary, a place where I could finally breathe and start discovering who I was outside of Mary's shadow. I chose a university far from home, determined to carve out a new identity for myself. The distance was liberating, and for the first time in my life, I felt a sense of independence and possibility. College was everything I had hoped for and more. I immersed myself in my studies, joined clubs, and made friends who saw me for who I was, not as Mary's less impressive sibling. My confidence grew with each passing semester. I excelled academically, and my professors recognized my hard work and dedication. Their encouragement fueled my ambition, and I started to believe in my own potential. It was during my junior year that I met Alex. We were both attending a lecture on modern literature, and I remember how he caught my eye from across the room. He was handsome, with an easy smile and a warmth that drew people to him. After the lecture, we struck up a conversation that flowed effortlessly. He was intelligent, kind, and genuinely interested in what I had to say. For the first time, I felt seen and valued by someone outside of my family. Alex and I quickly became inseparable. He supported my dreams and ambitions, encouraging me to push myself further. We spent hours discussing our favorite books, our future plans, and our hopes for the world. He was my rock, grounding me when I felt overwhelmed and lifting me up when I needed encouragement. Our relationship blossomed, and I felt a happiness I had never known before. As my college years came to a close, I secured a job at a reputable company in the city. It was a position I had worked hard for, and I was proud of my accomplishments. Alex and I decided to move in together, excited to start this new chapter of our lives. We found a cozy apartment, decorated it with our favorite things, and settled into a comfortable routine. However, as content as I was, there was a lingering fear in the back of my mind. I had kept Alex separate from my family, hesitant to expose him to the toxicity that had plagued my upbringing. I knew how Mary operated, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she would try to disrupt my happiness if given the chance. But Alex was insistent on meeting them, believing it was important for our relationship to be fully open and honest. After much deliberation, I agreed to introduce Alex to my family. We planned a weekend visit, and I mentally prepared myself for the worst. When we arrived at my parents' house, the tension was palpable. My mother and father greeted Alex with forced smiles, their enthusiasm muted by the unspoken comparisons to Mary's past relationships. Mary, on the other hand, was conspicuously absent, which should have been a relief, but instead filled me with a sense of dread. When Mary finally arrived, she made her entrance as dramatic as always. She swept into the room, her eyes immediately locking onto Alex. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, the calculation and curiosity. She was polite, almost too polite, as she introduced herself to Alex, and I could sense her probing for weaknesses, looking for ways to insert herself into our lives. The visit was a whirlwind of forced pleasantries and underlying tension. Mary's interest in Alex was clear, and I could feel her scheming from the moment she laid eyes on him. Despite my fears, Alex remained kind and gracious, unaware of the storm that was brewing. As we left my parents' house, I couldn't shake the feeling that Mary would stop at nothing to insert herself into our relationship and reclaim the spotlight she so desperately craved. Introducing Alex to my family was a turning point, one that I had both dreaded and anticipated. As we left my parents' house that first evening, I couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and unease. Alex had handled everything with his usual grace, but I knew that Mary had her sights set on him. The days following our visit were a test of our relationship as Mary began to weave her web of manipulation. It started with innocent gestures. Mary would call Alex under the guise of getting to know him better. At first, it seemed harmless enough. She would ask about his job, his interests, and our life together. But there was an underlying current of insinuation in her conversations, subtle digs that questioned his choices and our relationship. Alex, being the kind and patient person he was, humored her, believing she was simply trying to bond. But the calls became more frequent, and soon, Mary was texting him at all hours. She would send messages about family matters, ask for his advice on trivial issues, and occasionally make comments about how lucky I was to have him. Alex showed me the messages, transparent about her attempts to engage him. He reassured me that he found her behavior strange and that he was committed to us, but the constant intrusion began to wear on me. The turning point came when Mary invited Alex to lunch without informing me. He told me about the invitation, thinking it was odd but harmless. I insisted on coming along, not wanting Mary to get any closer to him than she already had. The lunch was a thinly veiled attempt to sow discord. Mary was charming and flattering, but her questions were intrusive, and her comments were laced with jealousy. She reminisced about her past relationships, painting herself as the tragic victim of unworthy men, and subtly hinted that Alex could do better than being with someone as ordinary as me. Despite her efforts, Alex remained loyal and unfazed by her antics. He saw through her manipulations and supported me more fiercely than ever. However, Mary's persistence only grew stronger. She started showing up unannounced at our apartment, claiming she was in the neighborhood and thought to drop by. Her presence was a constant reminder of the toxic dynamics I had tried so hard to escape. The situation reached its peak as our wedding day approached. Mary's actions became more desperate and erratic. She would drop hints to Alex about my insecurities and fears, hoping to plant seeds of doubt. One evening, she cornered me in my parents' living room, her eyes filled with a mix of envy and desperation. She accused me of stealing Alex from her, claiming that she had always deserved someone as wonderful as him. Her words were a jumbled mess of jealousy and spite, and for the first time, I saw the depth of her delusion. I tried to confront my parents about Mary's behavior, but they dismissed it as sibling rivalry, unwilling to see the damage she was causing. They had always been blind to her faults, and their refusal to acknowledge her actions was a painful reminder of my place in the family. It was Alex who stood by me, his unwavering support giving me the strength to face Mary's manipulations head-on. One evening, as we were finalizing wedding plans, Mary showed up at our door, visibly upset. She pleaded with Alex to reconsider marrying me, claiming that I would only bring him down. She accused me of being a burden, a shadow that would never let him shine. Alex, calm but firm, told her that he loved me and that her behavior was unacceptable. He made it clear that she was no longer welcome in our lives if she continued to undermine our relationship. Mary's desperation culminated in a final, reckless attempt to sabotage our wedding. But that story, with its dramatic twists and turns, is another chapter in this tumultuous journey. For now, it was enough to know that Alex and I were united against the storm that Mary had unleashed, our love growing stronger with each challenge we faced. As our wedding day approached, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. Planning the event was a whirlwind, but Alex and I were eager to start our life together. Despite the joy, there was a lingering shadow, Mary. Her interference had escalated in the weeks leading up to the wedding, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she was planning something drastic. On the day of the wedding, the air was filled with anticipation. Our friends and family gathered at a picturesque venue, the sun shining brightly as we prepared for the ceremony. Alex and I had decided to have a small, intimate wedding, hoping to keep the focus on our love and commitment to each other. As I got ready with my bridesmaids, I tried to push thoughts of Mary out of my mind, determined not to let her ruin our special day. Little did I know, Mary had a plan. She arrived at the venue, looking stunning in a dress that was far too attention-grabbing for a guest. From the moment she walked in, I felt a knot of unease tighten in my stomach. She moved through the crowd with her usual charm, greeting guests and making her presence known. I tried to stay calm, focusing on the happiness of the moment, but it was hard to ignore the tension in the air. As the ceremony began, I locked eyes with Alex, finding solace in his steady gaze. His love and support were my anchor, and I took a deep breath, ready to walk down the aisle. The ceremony went off without a hitch, and for a brief, blissful moment, I felt like nothing could go wrong. We exchanged vows, promising to stand by each other through thick and thin, and I believed that together we could face anything. It was during the reception that Mary made her move. As we celebrated with our guests, she approached Alex with a drink in hand, her smile a little too forced. I watched from across the room as she handed him the glass, her eyes darting nervously around. Something was off, and my instincts screamed at me to intervene. Before I could make my way over, one of Alex's friends, Mark, stepped in. Mark had been keeping an eye on Mary, suspicious of her intentions. He saw her slip something into Alex's drink and immediately alerted him. Alex, always composed, calmly took the drink from Mary and handed it to Mark, who discreetly had it tested. The results confirmed our worst fears. Mary had tried to drug Alex. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut, and I felt a surge of anger and betrayal. Alex confronted Mary, his voice low and controlled. He told her that her behavior was unacceptable and that she needed to leave immediately. Mary's facade cracked, and she lashed out, accusing me of turning everyone against her. She claimed that Alex was better off with her and that I had always been jealous of her. Her words were filled with venom, but they only solidified our resolve. With the help of our friends, we escorted Mary out of the venue. She screamed and fought, but eventually she was gone, leaving a wake of stunned guests and a shaken celebration. I stood there, my heart pounding, as Alex pulled me into a tight embrace. He whispered reassurances in my ear, promising that we would get through this together. The rest of the evening was a blur. Our guests rallied around us, offering their support and love. Despite the chaos, we managed to salvage the reception, turning it into a celebration of our resilience and the strength of our relationship. Alex and I danced, laughed, and held each other close, grateful for the unwavering support of our friends and family. In the days that followed, we decided to cut ties with Mary completely. Her actions had crossed a line, and we knew that in order to protect our marriage and our future, we needed to distance ourselves from her toxic influence. My parents, finally seeing the gravity of her behavior, supported our decision. It was a painful step, but a necessary one. Our wedding day, though marred by Mary's attempt at sabotage, became a testament to our love and commitment. We emerged stronger, ready to face whatever challenges came our way, knowing that together we could overcome anything. After the chaos of our wedding day, Alex and I knew that the only way to protect our future was to cut ties with Mary. It was not an easy decision. Despite everything she had done, there was a part of me that mourned the sisterly bond we never had. But her actions had shown that she was beyond redemption, and I could no longer allow her toxicity to infect our lives. In the days following the wedding, Alex and I sat down with my parents. It was a difficult conversation, filled with raw emotions and long-buried truths. For years, they had turned a blind eye to Mary's behavior, excusing her manipulations and cruelty. But the events of the wedding had been a wake-up call. They could no longer deny the damage she had caused. "We need to talk about Mary," I began, my voice trembling with a mix of sadness and resolve. "What she did at the wedding." It was unforgivable. We can't continue to have her in our lives. My parents exchanged a look, their expressions a mix of guilt and sorrow. My mother spoke first, her voice heavy with regret. We never realized how bad it had gotten. We thought she would grow out of it. She's our daughter, my father added, his eyes filled with pain. We didn't want to believe that she could be capable of such things. I understand, I said, my heart aching for them. But Alex and I need to protect our marriage and our future. We've decided to cut ties with Mary. It's the only way we can move forward. There was a long silence as my parents absorbed my words. Finally, my mother nodded, tears in her eyes. We support you, she said quietly. We want you to be happy. We want you to have the life you deserve. With their blessing, Alex and I made the difficult decision to sever all contact with Mary. We blocked her number, deleted her from our social media, and instructed our friends and family not to share any information about us with her. It was a painful process, but each step brought a sense of relief, as if a weight was being lifted from our shoulders. Life began to settle into a new, peaceful rhythm. Without Mary's constant interference, I felt a sense of freedom and happiness that I had never known before. Alex and I focused on building our life together, setting goals and dreaming about our future. We took long walks, talked about starting a family, and made plans for our careers. The bond between us grew stronger with each passing day, forged in the fire of the challenges we had faced. Occasionally, I would hear whispers about Mary's whereabouts through the family grapevine. She had moved to another city, still living her life of parties and casual relationships. There was a part of me that hoped she would find her way, that she would eventually realize the consequences of her actions and seek help. But I knew that her journey was her own, and I could no longer let it dictate my happiness. One evening, as Alex and I sat on our balcony watching the sunset, he took my hand in his. We've been through so much, he said softly, but I wouldn't change a thing. It's brought us closer together, made us stronger. I looked into his eyes, filled with love and gratitude. I feel the same way, I replied. I'm so grateful for you, for us. We've built something beautiful out of the ashes. As the sky turned a deep shade of orange, I realized that the darkness of the past had given way to a brighter future. The pain and struggle had been worth it, leading me to a place of peace and happiness that I had never imagined possible. With Alex by my side, I knew that we could face any challenge, overcome any obstacle. Together, we were unstoppable. The journey had been long and difficult, but it had taught me the true meaning of resilience, love, and the power of letting go. As I looked out at the horizon, I felt a sense of closure, knowing that the past no longer had a hold on me. The future was ours, and it was filled with endless possibilities.